Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make my layered Easter truck paper craft project. This is a free SVG which you can download from the link in the description of this video. We're going to cut it all out from cardstock and then I'll show you how to stick all the layers together for a wonderful 3D effect. Let's get started. You can download the free cutting file for this project at craftwithsarah.com/free-svgs or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. The download comes in a zip folder and you need to unzip this before you can upload the files into Cricut Design Space. Start a new project in Cricut Design Space and then go to Upload on the left and then Upload Image. You can then click Browse to find the files on your computer or drag and drop them in. For Cricut Design Space, you need to choose the file which starts SVG in the file name. It doesn't matter what the little picture is that comes next to it or what it shows as the type under here. Mine does say SVG file, but yours might say Microsoft Edge file or HTML document or something along those lines. That doesn't matter as long as you choose the one which starts SVG in the file name. Whatever it says it is, that is the correct one to use. So I'm going to drag and drop mine in, and then it should look like this with all of the layers one on top of the other. If yours looks different and you can see the layers next to each other instead, that means you've accidentally uploaded the wrong file. So if that's the case, click Cancel down on the bottom and then try again and make sure you choose the one which starts SVG. This is all looking good, so let's press Upload. And then when it's in your recent uploads, click on it to get a green border around the edge and then press Add to Canvas. You can see all of the layers split out on the right hand side, and this design does have a lot of colours to it because of all the eggs in the bottom. If you want to, you can recolor the layers either by clicking on them and then changing the colour in this box here, or to change it to a colour that already exists on other parts of the design, press Colour Sync on the top right of the screen. And then you can click and drag to change the color. So for example, if I change this color to green, you see that changed that top egg. I'm just going to undo that though, as I'll be using the default colors. To go back to the layers panel, you can press layers over here on the top right. I need to resize this truck to fit in my frame, so I'll click on it. And then under the width and height boxes, make sure the little padlock icon is closed. If yours is open, then click on it to close it. Then under the width, I'm going to type 9.5 inches, press enter on my keyboard, and the height will change automatically. When you're happy with the size, press make it on the top right, and this will split it out onto all of the different colors that we'll be using. I'm using A4 paper, so I need to change this in the drop down to A4. And if you want to, you can click and drag the layer pictures to move it around on the mat to take up less space. This design uses lots of little bits of colour, which means it's great for using up your scraps of cardstock left over from other projects. I'm going to continue changing all of these bigger pieces to A4. But for the tiny bits like this, I'm just going to leave that as is so that I can use my scraps. And as long as it's bigger than the picture on the screen, the bit of card that you put on there, it will be fine to use. And you can leave it on that 12x12 setting and it will be absolutely fine. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press continue and that will connect to your Cricut machine, and then follow the instructions on screen to get everything cut out from cardstock. Here are all of my layers cut out from cardstock, and I've just placed them one on top of the other so that I can check I'm happy with all of the colours and that I haven't missed anything. I'm going to be sticking this together with a combination of glue and 3D foam squares. The glue I like to use is called Collall, and it's really great because it doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some glues can do. To make sure I can get it into all of the teeny tiny spaces, I put it into these needle tip applicator bottles, and I get these on Amazon, and they have tiny nozzles on them, which means I can put the glue where I need it to go really accurately and without any mess. The foam squares I'm using are from Dot and Dab, but any brand of foam squares will do. If your foam squares are big, then you can use a pair of scissors to cut them down to size if you need to make them smaller. Before I start with the main assembly, I'm actually just going to stick the middles of these flowers down with glue because they're very small and I don't want to accidentally lose them whilst I'm moving everything else about. So let's just get these flowers and also the one from the middle of the truck. And then this is a good example straight away of why these needle tip applicator bottles are great. Just put a dab of glue there and then put my little flower middle, and I'm just going to move that over to the side. And then I've got another one. You probably can't really see it because it's a white flower against a white marble background. Oops, I just glued it to my fingers. There's the second one. Move that over. And then this little daffodil, which goes on the front of the truck, it's got 3 separate layers to it. So first I'll glue on that bigger part. There. And then a little bit more glue in the middle of that for the other little circle. There. And now again, I'm just going to move that over to the side. Bring the truck back in. And for layered designs, you want to work at the bottom and we're going to move upwards. So let's move everything out of the way that's not part of those bottom 2 layers. So now we've got these bottom 2, which is the solid grey and then the black to go on top. For this layer, it is optional if you want to glue it or use foam pads. I've made several of these trucks now and I actually prefer gluing this. I have tried it both ways, but I like the effect better more with glue. But when you check the assembly guide for this design, which is included in your download folder, you'll see that I mentioned for this layer you can either use foam or glue. So it is completely up to you, depending on how much depth you want your design to have. I'm going to line this up along the top and then push it down a little bit to get that glue to stick. The next layer is the main bit of the coloured part of the truck, and this will be a foam square layer. So I'm going to turn it upside down and add some foam. This is quite a big piece of cardstock, so we want to make sure we have enough foam that it's going to have a really good stick and it's not going to be in danger of falling off. And as well as putting the foam pads around the edge, you want to make sure you've got some in any big middle spaces. Otherwise, if you were to leave the middles empty, you might find that the cardstock domes down, especially when it's got all of those egg layers on top of it, because it will be heavy and it needs the stability of the foam pads in the middle to make sure it doesn't start doming downwards. So put a good amount of foam on there. And be careful that none of your foam goes over any of the little gaps in the design, otherwise you'll be able to see it when we turn the layer over. And we do not want to be able to see any of this foam. I'm peeling the tops off now to reveal the stickiness underneath. And then place it over the layer underneath, and when you think you've got it lined up, just gently drop it down. And the reason we've done that was that if we hadn't lined it up quite right, you can pick it up without damaging anything because we've only just lightly placed it on top and it isn't stuck yet. But I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to push it down to get all of that foam stuck. Next, I'm going to add the middle of the wheels. And these I'm going to put foam pads on. They're the same size, so it doesn't matter which one you put on which wheel. There we go. And then we've got our yellow and white flowers to go in the middle, and it's easiest to glue these on because we kind of want it to look almost like the flowers have been painted onto the hubcaps of the wheels. Okay, next I'm going to carry on with the front of the truck, which is these two layers. The first one, if I can ever pick it up, is going to be a foam pad layer. So let's turn it upside down and add the foam. And with this one, you do just need to be quite careful that you don't put your foam over any of the gaps, but that you've still got enough on there that it's going to have a good stick. So I'm trying to get my foam into all of these kind of little areas, and I will need some along the top. I'm not sure. That one will fit, but will this fit without poking out? Just about, yeah. So if my foam pads had been any bigger, I would have had to cut them smaller with some scissors just to put some along that top. But we were lucky. And then bring our truck back and do the same thing. So line it up and then gently let it drop. Check you're happy and push down when you are. Next we've got this front part. So I'm going to turn that upside down and add some foam. And again, I don't want to go over that gap in the middle. Right, front of the truck done. Oh no, nearly done, not quite. We've got our little daffodil to go on there. And I'm going to glue this on again so it kind of looks like it's painted, or maybe even that it's a vinyl decal on the side of the truck. There. All right, now for the complicated bit. We're moving on to all of these eggs, and there are a lot of layers on this truck, on the back part. So I don't want to add too many foam pads for the rest of the design, because otherwise that back bit will be raised up a lot higher than the front, which means that these parts won't actually line up and it just might look a little bit weird. So instead, we're going to be relying heavily on the fact that this is kind of 8 sheets of card wide, because we've got two colours for each egg and 4 eggs in total. Start with the bottom, and this one will be a glue layer. Now, of course, if you weren't bothered about the covers of the tyres lining up, then you could add more foam pads to these eggs. But I'm quite fussy about it lining up and looking even, so I'm going to use glue for most of these. The next one is the detail on that back egg. And here we go. One of the positives about using glue for so many of these is that it is quicker than the foam. And I'm just tucking these underneath the front of the truck. You see where it overlaps a little bit. Okay, next we've got the kind of tealy coloured egg. And I'm using glue again for this. The theory I'm kind of working on is that these 8 layers of cardstock will be about the same as if we'd have used foam on one layer. So the eggs should hopefully kind of line up with this layer when they're all stuck down. Got the polka dot egg detail next. I'm going to try and get around the edge of that polka dot to make sure it's going to stick really nicely. Tuck that under. And now purple egg. I love all of the colours on this design. It's really bright and very spring inspired. So I hope you like it too. And this is the 4th, I think, or maybe the 5th layered truck that I've done. Actually, I think it is the 5th. So if you go to my website, craftwithsarah.com, you can get all of the free SVGs for the other versions of the trucks. So I've done a fall one with pumpkins in the back. I've done a Christmas one with a Christmas tree, a Valentine's Day one, a St. Patrick's Day one, and then of course this Easter one. I just smudged my glue a little bit there because I was concentrating so much on what I was saying that I wasn't looking what I was doing. And I can see now that actually my cardstock is pretty much level with the front of the truck, which means my theory about not needing the foam squares was correct. So that's good. And in case you can't tell from comments like that, yes, this is the first time I've actually stuck it together. So I do everything for the first time on camera. It's nothing like putting myself under pressure. Usually it works out, so it's all good. Okay, this is the last layer of the eggs. I'd love an Easter egg that was big enough to fit in the back of a truck. I'd like to say it would last me until Christmas, but it wouldn't. Alright, so next we've got the kind of edge of the truck, and again I'm going to glue this one. We will be adding a little bit more foam detail in a moment. And even though it does kind of feel like this won't have much dimension, it really will, just because of all of these sheets of card being layered up. Okay, so we've got 2 pieces left, which is the lighter part to go on there. And because on this side, we've got the foam difference between the little cutout on there and the colour underneath, I want to replicate that so that the shadowing is the same on both sides. That means I need to glue the solid layer, and then we'll use foam pads on the layer with the holes. And then for the last little layer, we're back to foam. See, foam squares, we hadn't forgotten you. Alrighty, so let's switch that over. And then stick that into place. And I just like that the depth between the gaps is the same and it matches. It just makes my heart happy when it all looks the same. And it has ended up so that these pieces are pretty much level along the top. So yes, this worked out really, really well. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to make a layered papercraft truck for Easter. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free SVGs. Thank you for watching. Bye!